If you're a billionaire, blonde hair, blue eye, you know what? You can go to different countries and commit a crime and get off scot-free. Shalom. I want to first give all of the praises to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakah Quadash, and double honors to the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to the Yakima that continue to further this ministry throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to those that are learning and listening and growing thereby as well, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And, as I entitled the video, I want to speak about that in this article as I've just read it. And that's what I've sussed out. And like I said, because this woman was a blonde hair, blue eye, you know what, and was in relation with this individual here, which this individual belongs to a lord, which is worth, 1.35 billion pounds. She committed the crime in killing this Belizean veteran police officer. Very prominent one at that. And so that eventually, as the article states, all she got to do is pay a hefty fine and she can escape prison time. So as it reads, it says, Lord Ashcroft's daughter-in-law, Jasmine Harton, 32, is pictured in jail after she was charged with manslaughter for fatal shooting of Belize cop during night of drinking, but could still avoid prison by paying a hefty fine. So it goes as far as to read. It says, Canadian socialite Jasmine Harton has been pictured in jail after she was charged with manslaughter by negligence in the shooting death of a prominent police officer in Belize, and could escape with just a fine. Jasmine Harton, 32, who was married to the son of a British billionaire, Lord Michael Ashcroft, was taken into custody last Friday after Superintendent Henry Jemmott, 42, was shot behind the ear with his own revolver. Jemmott had arrived in San Pedro last week enjoying a fishing trip and hitting some bars with a friend while staying at a downtown hotel. In her statement to police, Harton claimed she invited the veteran officer to her apartment where the pair drank and discussed her personal security. So why would she invite the veteran officer to her apartment and drink? Why would she do this? And if you look at the key word that they've used, it says Harton claims, like that didn't happen. That highly likely didn't happen, where the veteran entered into her house by his own will and wanted to basically deal with her. When that's what really happened. What really happened was she lured him into her apartment and they both got drunk. She then told cops they later walked a short distance to the wooden pier by the Madder Rocks Hotel, which was closed because of the pandemic. Harton told police that Jemmett said he was suffering from shoulder pain, so she offered him a massage while he placed his service weapon on the dock. It was when she picked it up to pass it back to him that the loaded gun fired accidentally, according to the statement, which I beg to believe it was by purpose. But anyway, since Harton was found at the scene by a security guard, hysterical and covered in blood, but clammed up and summoned a lawyer once she was in police custody, source said the blonde socialite has spent the past 4 days holed up in a tiny concrete cell at the stifling hot police and magistrate courts complex in San Pedro, the tropical resort's only town. So here she is right here, seen in the Belizean prison, right here. Behind bars, in jail, not prison, but behind bars in jail. And because she's a blonde hair, blue eyed, you know what? Plus she's related to a billionaire. As I beg to believe, she highly likely escaped of committing the crime that she committed. And that really she could have served time. But as the article goes as far as to say, it says Harton was arranged, and that's her husband, by the way. She's married. She's a married woman. And she lured this Jake here into her apartment room so that they can talk about whatever they were talking about in there. and that they both were massaging one another, or she was massaging him, basically. And it just goes to show you how these white women are, man. They're just reckless now. They don't really care. It's like something happened a couple of weeks ago. We was at the camp, and this so-called white woman, and she had blonde hair, by the way, blonde hair, blue eye, you know what, came from behind us, and the way that she did it was so unclassy. It was just ridiculous. I mean, she just literally, it's like she was like in her own world. When she saw a bunch of so-called black men wearing the robes, it was just like she literally lost it. She lost her mind. She forgot about where she was at. She forgot about the current guy that she was with. And this happened at camp. And these so-called white women, they just can't help themselves, man. They just can't. They cannot help themselves. You know what I mean? And a lot of these jakes are out here making the big deal about the so-called white women. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you do got some attractive looking so-called white women. And there's nothing wrong if a Jake deals with them. But the thing with our people make a big deal about them like they're the end all be all. But then again, we've been all conditioned to believe that they're just special people. Because when you really think about it, for so many years, as I can remember, they will always promote, and I'm talking about the media, whether it's the media or whether it's even in video games, they would always promote the so-called white women with blonde hair and blue eyes. And that was just the ideal woman to be with on the face of the earth. That was the best kind of woman you can get. A blonde hair, blue eye, you know what? You understand? So this is why a lot of people idolize so-called white women, especially more in particular men of color. They idolize being with a so-called white woman like this because of the propaganda that has been, forced down our throats, so to speak. So a lot of us have been conditioned to think a certain way and how we view people. And I'm even go as far as saying this too, because of who he is. He's just a regular, average Joe that happened to be a police officer in Belize, doesn't really make much money at all. And then you have this woman here. She's a blondie, as the article states, and she's glamorous and all of this bullshit, right? And she's related to a billionaire. She's married to a billionaire, excuse me. So because of all of those things, she's all of that in a bag of chips. And she's just this high valued person that we should hold in high regard. And meanwhile, he's just a nobody, basically. And it's just funny because we've all been taught to believe through the same media, that everybody's equal. But if everybody's equal, she should be serving time. There shouldn't be no, I could just pay this amount of money, or the court wants me to pay this certain amount of money, and I can just get off scot-free from committing a crime and taking someone's life. So by that being the case, we know and understand that that's not the reality. The reality of the matter is that you have people on the face of this earth that are not excuse me. You have people on the face of the earth that are walking around that can commit a crime. And because of their so-called good background, they can just escape of the crime that they've committed. And plus, they're a bunch of billionaires too. And they have the physical appearance. So because they have all of these things ticked, they can do whatever they want and just get off scot-free. And meanwhile, if you don't fit the description, then you're just a nobody. If you don't fit the description of prosperity or the image of prosperity, if you're not a so-called white person, if you're not a multi-billion pound man or woman, if you're not related to key people on the earth, then you just don't matter. We don't value you. We don't see you. We don't really recognize you as a person. And that's just how it goes. And all of these court systems, whatever country you're in, because the thing with the world is operating under the vibration and under the ways of Edom. So because Esau is ruling the world, and the naturally crooks, the naturally corrupted people, all of these other countries are going to be just as corrupt. So rather than judging the people by what's right, because the whole idea of setting up judges and setting up a place where you go before the judges and the judges judge other men, that originates from the Bible. So if that's the case, it comes from the Israelites. The whole idea of setting judges on the earth, the judges were there to judge people based on the law, statutes, and commandments. But what Esau did was Esau took our concept and our idea, and as usual, he perverts everything he takes. He perverted it. And now it's become a financial thing rather than judging the people the right way. And I just want to read this right here. Habakkuk 1 verse 4 says, "Therefore the law slacked, and judgment doeth never go forth. The wicked doeth compass about the righteous, and therefore wrong judgment proceedeth." And that's really what it is. Right now, it's not really about judging the people according to. It's about, can you pay the courts off? Can you get the best lawyer? And you can then escape. Who are you bumping elbows with? So these are the things that count. So if you're a billionaire, you're a so-called white woman with blonde hair, blue eyes, you're married with a billionaire, and you have keys to other powerful people that play a large role in a particular country, you can escape. That's how this world operates. And I bet to believe she highly likely escaped the crime that she committed. So let's read some more of this, shall we? Let's get into this, man. It says, an officer who was among the first on the scene, that Jemmet fell on to Harton after he was shot. He fell into the water when she pushed him off. And it says, Mary, a retired social worker, told Daily Mail, "I haven't seen the news because I'm so overwhelmed and devastated by my brother's death. I can speculate over whether they will bail her or she will stay in prison because I don't know the charge yet. What I would say is to Jasmine is giving closure to the family. Tell us what happened. We want to know for the benefit of our family. He was my only brother and he had 5 children and a partner for 14 years. Every time I look at my nieces and my nephews, I break down and cry. Please tell us what happened." Jemmet was said to have been taking a few days to relax at the resort after having relationship issues and taking leave from work for personal matters. So now a life is lost. A prominent police officer in Belize has been killed. And the family of this man has to now suffer for a long duration of time. And this woman here, because she's who she is, the blonde hair, blue eye, prince as society would have you believe, and because she's connected with a billionaire, and she can pay the courts off, she can escape prison time. That's how it is in the world that we live in today. And meanwhile, we're told that everybody's equal. And you know, the whole concept of everybody being equal, that never really existed in the history of mankind anyway. That lie was told to many of us so that we can be pacified from the reality of the fact that you have people that's in power that are more valuable than other people. That's what that was all about. But in this case, you got people on this earth, man, that got money that can pay the courts off, and then you got people that don't go to court at all because they're not under judicial law. So you got two kinds of people. You got people that have the money to pay the courts off to escape the crime from doing the time. And then you got people that don't go to court at all. They don't have to go to court. They can just commit a crime. They can kill 100 motherfuckers and just get up scot-free. And they don't have to go even to court. You see? So this is something that certain brothers have to be aware of as well. If you don't know, that's the case in this reality too. All right, so what I would like to do is I would like to read 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." And the man of sin has already been revealed because he's ruling today, and he's been revealed by the prophets of the Lord that they're the biblical Edomites. As you can see, society will say that, and people just in general, because all of us have been taught to call these people white people. In all reality, they're really the red people, and you can already see it that she's red, and her shirt is absolutely white. So you already can see that she's not the same color as a t-shirt. Her face is red, her body's red, and her face is red, and the shirt that she's wearing is actually white. And then you got jackasses like Vocab Malone that's going to tell us and just his people that the Edomites don't exist when they do exist. So now what we're going to do is we're going to read this again. It says, "Therefore the law is slack, and judgment doeth never go forth, for the wicked doeth compass about the righteous, and therefore wrong judgment proceedeth." Why? Because as I just read, the man of sin has been revealed, and the man of sin is ruling the earth today. So if you take a people of sin to rule the earth, they're going to transgress the laws, which is what sin actually means. It means to transgress the laws. So Esau is a natural transgressor of the laws of God. That's why everything that they do, they pervert it. They turn it into something else, which is not supposed to be. Job 15 verse 21. "A dreadful sound is in his ears, and prosperity the destroyer shall come upon him." So now let's first look up the word dreadful. We're going to get the root word, which the Hebrew word is pachad, or pachad, which means to fear, tremble, revere, dread, to be in awe, or dead, to be in, or dread, to be in dread, to be in awe, to be in great dread, the cause to dread. And this reminds me of the scripture in Revelations 11:11. And we're going to get that right now through the Spirit. Revelations 11:11, it says, "And after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them." And people, the majority of the people that we come across, that we see walking past us every time we go out, they don't really know what's going on to be afraid of us. But they're catching up though. But the elites more in particular, because they know who we are. They know the history of mankind, and they know about the different empires, including in that. They know as well as that you had prophets in these empires. And these prophets would give the message, and that the message would proceed and come alive. So now they see us, and they see us proclaiming ourselves to be the prophets, and that scares the living daylights out of them, because it lets them know that they're about to approach the end of their world, as well as when we were on the scene, as they know the past of the history of mankind. I mean, we could talk about the empires of old. We could talk about the Babylonian Empire. We could talk about the Medo-Persian Empire. We could talk about when the Greeks came in. We could talk about when the Egyptian Empire was at bay. There were men, special men of the Lord, revealed the secrets unto, and they pretty much told the people of what was revealed unto them, what would happen to them in their kingdom. So we're doing the same thing now in this kingdom. As it reads in the book of Jeremiah 28 verse 8, the prophets that came before thee of in the days of old prophesied of many things against great kingdoms of pestilence and war. And what we had been saying for as long as we've been awakening, we've been speaking about the up and coming event, such as the destruction of America, World War III, and the incoming of the Son of Man, the man that died on the cross for our sins, Yahweh Shai. These are the things that we talk about, and the powers that be, they can get with that. They can see what we're saying on that regard, because they know, including themselves, that such a scenario could actually happen. All right, so that's what scares the living daylights out of them, is that we're on the scene telling them what's going to happen to them, as we did in the days of old of the previous empires that we were in. That's the dreadful sound that's in the air. And then eventually, as it goes as far as to say, in prosperity, the destroyer shall come upon him. And then the Messiah is going to come upon him, Yahweh Shai, and destroy this place. If you want to get more in depth with that, just read Isaiah 63 verse 1 and downwards. So that's all I got to say with this right here. I want to give all of the praises to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakah Kwadash. And wait a minute, I got to read one more scripture before I leave. It says, this is 1 Timothy 6 verse 10. It says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. And that's how you also know that we live in an evil empire, where you can just pay the courts off because you're rich and because of your status and who you are. You can just get off scot-free. All right. That's another way how you know that we're in an evil, wicked empire, because they're not judging the people according to the laws, statutes, and commandments. They're judging the people according to their own way and coming up with their own laws and their own commands. All right. But just going back to the situation here, if this woman could pay the fine, she can get off. And she don't have to serve no time. Okay. But yeah, getting back to this though, when it's all said and done, these so-called white people will pay for the crimes that they've committed. It's just in a matter of time. And they don't have long left, as we can already see the signs and wonders going on in the earth. Yahweh Shai's coming back to destroy them, destroy their kingdom, and they're going to be put as slaves. We're going to enslave them, and we're going to treat them the way they've done us. And that's what it's going to be, man. That's what it's going to be. So with that I say, Shalom.